everyone. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Healthzone with Gilbert Cheah. I'm Gilbert Cheah. I'm the editor of Healthzone Singapore, a Facebook page that's dedicated to covering health and wellness, specially curated for the Singapore and regional perspective. So this is part 2 of a talk of the program that I started with last week, where we talked about carbohydrates and carbs and how important it is to distinguish between the different types of carbs that we are eating. Last week, we learned that our bodies do need carbohydrates to function properly, and that not all carbohydrates are bad for us as long as we consume the right types. And just to recap for those who missed the episode or who have forgotten, what we talked about last week, it's important to know that there are 3 types of carbs: sugars, starches, and fiber. We want to limit the amount of sugars and starches, and we want to eat more foods with fiber. Now, the problem in modern diets and the way that we eat nowadays, and one of the reasons why there's this epidemic of obesity all over the world, especially in developed countries like Singapore, is that many people are having diets that are high in calories but low in nutrition. And what we should be doing is eating the opposite way, that is to eat foods that are lower in calories but higher in nutrition. And this doesn't have to be complicated as long as we understand the basic principles. Yes, we can eat carbs and still stay healthy and even lose weight. So today, just to make things simpler and more interesting, I want to share with you 8 tips on how we can eat carbs the healthy way. So let's start. Number 1 tip is this, and this is a very simple thing, very basic, but most people don't realize this. The importance is you got to eat protein and fiber in every meal that you take. Don't eat starchy carbs by themselves. For example, if you are going to eat a big bowl of noodles, you got to add protein to that. The noodles themselves are mainly just starchy carbohydrates. So add egg or tofu or some meat or seafood, and very importantly, add vegetables to it. By adding protein and fiber to your meal, to your carb meal, it slows down the way your body is digesting the starches and sugars, and very helpfully, it makes you feel fuller quicker. So you won't have to eat so much of the starches. I often see people eating a whole bowl of noodles with hardly any protein and vegetables. This is not good. And protein has got very important benefits for the body. Protein, for example, when you eat it, it triggers the release of the fullness hormone. It's called peptide YY. And this is a hormone that your body produces, which tells your brain that the stomach is full. And sometimes with people who have a deficiency in this and their bodies are not responding properly, they will eat and they don't feel full. And that is because the hormone is not doing its job. And the brain is not getting the signal that the stomach is already full. And protein is important because of another factor, which is also important to learn. It has something called a higher thermic value compared to fat or carbs. What does this mean? It means your body's metabolic rate increases more when digesting and metabolizing the protein. The thermic value of foods is actually something very interesting. It means how much energy your body needs to digest the food that you eat. So when you eat carbohydrates, you are actually about 5 to 15% of the carbs that you're consumed are being used by the body to digest the food. But when you eat protein, over 20 to 35% of the calories are used to digest. So that's like getting a discount on the calories you're eating. So if you eat something that's carbohydrate, about 15% at the most of that is being used to digest your food. But if you eat protein, it's so much higher. So this is a very important factor to know about, because eating foods with higher thermic value is one way to burn more calories even when you're not exercising. So that's point number 1, tip number 1. Make sure you eat protein, fiber with every meal. Do not just eat carbs by themselves. And a lot of Singapore foods are very carb heavy. So you can still eat the carb foods, but just remember to add protein and add fiber to it. Vegetables or meat or an egg or tofu, that will make a huge difference. Tip number 2, watch out for the between meal and after meal snacks. We all love to snack. Many people have what I call the itchy mouth syndrome, where they pop snacks and treats into their mouths between meals, even when they're not hungry. We all do that. And you'd be surprised actually if you actually added up how many of these calories, these unplanned munching, it adds up to. You'd be shocked. And this is really an easy way to cut down your calories and carbs. It's what I call low-hanging fruit. You don't need to eat these snacks or eat so many of them. And even cutting down a small percentage will add up over time and make a big difference in your health, weight, and well-being. So now, let's be realistic, all right? We will all have the itchy mouth syndrome, and if your itchy mouth needs to be scratched, snack on healthier foods. That's the choice that we can make. Eat healthier foods. I'm going to use some of the healthy foods that you can snack on, which are delicious, but also good for you. So here are some of them. Apple slices, watermelon seeds. Watermelon seeds are fantastic. Sunflower seeds are fantastic. A small amount of nuts are good. Dark chocolate, not white chocolate and not milk chocolate, because those have a lot of sugar. Dark chocolate is actually a very healthy, good food for you because it's a potent antioxidant. Tofu fa, if you get a bowl of tofu fa, you can put less syrup in there and eat it, and it's healthy because it's protein. For those of you who don't know what tofu fa is, it's the soybean curd. Roasted seaweed as a snack, or edamame. Now, these are all really good, healthy snacks that you can use and throughout the day when you feel like you need a snack. And if you need something a bit more substantial, popiah is a good one, but don't eat the fried popiah. You got to eat the one with the soft skin. And yong tau fu. These are very good snack options. So that was point number 2, which is really watch what you eat between meals and after meals. Third important point is this. Be really aware of hidden sugars. Now, what do I mean by hidden sugars? We know that when we add sugar to a food, that's sugar. We know about it, right? But there are a lot of processed foods that contain sugar. Foods that you would never think contain sugar. Even savory foods that are not really sweet. For example, a bottle of tomato sauce that you use for pasta contains sugar, added sugar. Sometimes you'd be amazed at how much sugar that actually contains. Tomato ketchup contains a lot of sugar. Bottled chili sauce contains a lot of sugar. A lot of salad dressings contain a lot of sugar. So does coleslaw. Flavored yogurt, like fruit-flavored yogurt that you buy in the tubs. Frozen yogurt, baked beans, granola, and most breakfast cereals. All of these processed foods contain sugar. And sometimes the amount of sugar can be really shocking. It can really add up sometimes to being more than a whole meal, the amount of extra sugar that you're consuming. So watch out for hidden sugars. If you can take the time to actually look at the label at the back of the bottle and see, you'll notice that they put less sugar in there. They're not hiding it. It's just that most of us don't pay attention and just add the condiments and the sauces without even thinking. And while we're on sauces, another very common sauce that contains sugar is soy sauce. So you also want to watch out for that, all right? Fourth point, don't drink liquid sugar. Now, we all know that sugary soft drinks are full of sugar and calories. But many people don't realize that even so-called healthy foods like fruit juice are also packed with sugar. Don't be fooled into thinking that it's quote-unquote natural sugar and somehow it's healthier. Your body treats fruit juice the same as table sugar, so watch for that. It's much healthier to eat a whole fruit rather than drinking the juice. Fruit juice is concentrated. So what happens basically is that when you make fruit juice, you're removing the pulp, you're removing the skin, and all of these are very important for you to eat along with the juice. And most of the time when you're drinking the juice, you don't have the pulp and you don't have the skin. So what happens then is you're drinking concentrated juice, which is just the sugar. And that's not healthy. Another form of liquid sugar that many of us don't think about, that we really have to watch out for, is the lattes and macchiatos that you get from cafes, coffee cafes. These are loaded with sugar, sweeteners, flavoring, and milk. Give you an example, just one glass of Frappuccino from Starbucks has over 500 calories. 500 calories, that is like, almost a third or a quarter of your daily caloric intake. And that's shocking if it's just for one drink. So watch out for that. Fifth tip, choose the right fruits. Fruits are healthy, they're good for you. You can eat them every day, no problem, because they do provide fiber and other nutrients. So eat the whole fruit. Like I said, don't just drink the juice, eat the whole fruit. But of course, not all fruits are created equal, and some are just not as healthy as what we would like. So you should watch out and eat those in moderation. Of course, our favorite fruit in Singapore, the king of fruits, durians, are a good example. Delicious, but very high in fat and calories and sugar. So don't overindulge. The average 1 kg durian contains 1,350 calories, which is nearly an adult person's entire calorie limit for the day. One seed of durian, which is about 40 to 50 grams of seed and flesh, contains about 56 calories and 1.4 grams of fat. So do watch out for that. There are fruits that you can eat which are much healthier. Other high-calorie, high-sugar fruits include bananas, grapes, and mangoes. Now, you don't need to stop eating these, but moderate the amount. Vary your diet by eating other lower-calorie, lower-sugar fruits, such as peaches, berries, oranges, watermelons, and cantaloupes. These are healthier for you than the other fruits which are higher in sugar. And tip number 6, beware of instant anything. We live in a world of convenience foods where we can get everything from snacks and beverages to complete meals in instant form. You just need to open a packet and add water or microwave it. Now, while these foods are great, I know if you're hungry or you're in a hurry or there's no other way to get the food, but you definitely do not want to be eating these types of foods regularly. I'll give you an example. Instant coffee or tea, for example, the kind that comes in a packet, you just add hot water to, it's already got sugar and creamer mixed in. When you drink this, you're consuming a lot of sugar and fat in your coffee. It's much better if you drink coffee that doesn't come with any of these additives, and you can then add your own milk and sugar. Avoid those 3-in-1 coffee or tea packets. If you don't have time to brew your own coffee, use instant coffee powder, but not those which are pre-mixed with the sugar and the milk already. It's important to know that the creamer that they use is not real milk, It is a substance that is made from hydrogenated palm oil with corn syrup solids to sweeten it and sodium caseinate, which is a milk byproduct. So it's a completely false kind of creamer, and it's also very unhealthy because hydrogenated oils are really bad for your heart and your arteries. They clog up and you just want to avoid them. So please avoid the instant 3-in-1 kinds of coffee and tea packets. And also avoid instant oats, instant noodles, and instant soup mix, all of which have been highly processed and have a lot of added sugar, salt, and preservatives. Now, I know it's important that sometimes you just have no choice, you're busy and you're hungry and you use these instant packets. Really don't make this a habit and don't eat this too often because they're really bad for you. Tip number 7, substitute some carbs for others. Try substituting starchy carbs for healthier ones which have got more fiber. For example, use lettuce leaves to make a sandwich instead of bread. Many Chinese restaurants actually serve duck meat this way. After you've had your Peking duck and you've eaten the skin, they serve you the meat chopped up on a lettuce leaf. And it's a delicious and healthy way to be eating. So try that at home. It's really not difficult at all. Another tip is to eat brown rice instead of white rice. Now, I know that a lot of people are making noise and complaints about this when the government came up with this recommendation to eat more brown rice instead of white rice, but there's a good reason for it. When you're eating white rice, it is rice that has all the fiber removed from it already. It basically is just pure, simple carbohydrate. And, at least a few times a month, I would recommend that you eat brown rice. Another way to make brown rice more delicious and more palatable if you're not used to it is to cook it with chicken or vegetable stock. It adds great flavor. Another way of substituting carb is to eat sweet potatoes instead of white potatoes. Sweet potatoes are higher in fiber and vitamins, and they also have a lower glycemic index, which is a measurement of how foods impact blood sugar. Sweet potatoes taste great baked. You don't even need to be adding anything to them. So that's one other way for you to be switching carbs and still eating a carb, but eating a healthier one that contains more fiber, which is really the key thing here. And the final tip basically is, tip number 8 is avoid processed foods. Now, this is so important. You have to watch out for foods that are highly processed, meaning that they have been significantly changed from the basic ingredients into something very different. For the most part, if it comes in a can, in a plastic, or in a box, it has been processed. For example, they take whole grains such as oats or wheat, and they remove the bran, which is the skin outside, the fibre, the nutrients. They remove all of this. They add in sugar, coloring, preservatives, and you get a breakfast cereal or a cookie or granola bars. So in addition to the original starches, these foods also contain high levels of added sugar, and you don't want that. So really avoid processed foods as much as possible. The closer they are to their natural form, the healthier they are. Now, as in summary, I just want to say that carbs in their natural, fiber-rich forms are healthy. Whole foods are healthy. Processed foods with sugar and refined carbs are extremely unhealthy. So don't be afraid to eat carbs, but eat them healthily. No one can starve their way to health. We can only eat our way to health. So our foods can be diverse and delicious. Eat right and live longer and healthier. Don't be afraid of eating, but just eat right. So that's it for this week's episode of Healthzone. I hope it's been helpful and you find these tips to be useful in helping you to eat well and to be healthier. Join us again next week where we'll have another interesting topic. And in the meantime, do give us your feedback, subscribe and like, and comment and tell us what kind of programs and shows and topics you'd like us to cover, and any questions you might have. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm Gilbert Cheah, and this has been Healthzone with Gilbert Cheah.